is Short-Term Rental Management, the show that is all about short-term rental property management with your host, yours truly, Luke Carl. Welcome to Short-Term Rental Management. It is great to be here with you on this glorious, well, quite possibly Tuesday morning, if that's when you tune in. We are here every Tuesday morning. My podcast appreciates a 5-star review if you get a second, because after all, we are in the review business. Today, Cash Flow Carl going to talk about number of guests. How many people should I sleep in my home? And we will get deep into that after a word from this week's sponsor. Sell with the Short-Term Shop. Are you looking to sell your short-term rental or even 1031 into a different property? Our team of realtors will work hard to get you the most for your investment. We are experts in our field and would love to earn your business. When it's time to sell, call the shop. TheShortTermShop.com. That's TheShortTermShop.com. Brokered by EXP. Cashflow Carl, long-haired Luke, the multifamily madman, the Reverend of Real Estate, the man with too many nicknames, dressed like a lumberjack today. Life is good. Life is good. Happy to have you with me here as we talk about number of people. How many guests should I allow in my home? Well, the correct answer is there is no wrong answer. This is one of those many things in management of landlording, short-term landlording, where it's not as big a deal as you think it is. When you first start, you're, oh my goodness, how many people should I allow in my house? It's a huge deal and you're like freaking out about it. But the truth is, you just pick something and run with it. And if it's not working for you, change it later. Simple as that. No different than being pet friendly. People obsess over that quite a bit. No, should I allow pets? Should I not allow pets? It's not that big a deal. Give it a try. That's what I did. My very first vacation house. It's still to this day the longest running Airbnb in the Smoky Mountains of East Tennessee. I was pet friendly. And I decided after 4, 5, 6 months, even though we have many pets in my household, I did not want to deal with that anymore. So I drove myself nuts. And then I realized, wait a minute, I can just turn this button off and no longer allow pets in this house. Simple as that. So we do obsess a bit, especially when we're new, about how many people to allow. There's also, I do want to talk briefly about heads in beds, right? And we're talking about heads in beds here. Now that term technically goes back old school when it was basically like, hey man, figure out how many people you can sleep in this house. You'll make more money the more people you can shove in this house, which is true. It is true. The more warm bodies you can stack in that home, the more you can charge per night because it's less per person. And then that way, maybe they can save having to buy 2 houses or a bigger house or a more expensive house, that kind of thing. So there are landlords out there that do that. That's their thing. Let me see how many people I can stack in this house. That is not my deal. I find that is too much work and you will get a lesser quality guest. The type of guest that is willing to sleep in there with all those family members stacked on top of each other, not going to be that great of a guest. Let me throw this at you. The type of adult that's willing to sleep on a top twin bunk bed, probably not the classiest guy on the planet, you know? So I decided long ago that I wanted to go a little bit lower on my number of people, and I made that work for me. Yeah, I might have left a little bit of money on the table, but it made my management, I felt it made the management side of things a little easier for me. And my quality of guest goes up. Those two things are related. The higher quality guest, the less pain in the rear end management will be. Okay, so I decided I'm going to go number of bedrooms times 2 plus 2. That's my formula. If you're just looking for kind of a back of the napkin, how many people should I sleep in this house? Number of bedrooms times 2 plus 2, which means that a 4-bedroom house sleeps 10. A 3-bedroom house sleeps 8, right? Now, major exceptions to that rule. Matter of fact, I have 3 4-bedroom houses. I'm sleeping 12 in each of them. So I'm breaking my rule there. Matter of fact, I have 3 4-bedroom houses, all 3 of which are vastly different square footage, and I'm still sleeping 12 in all 3 of them. Let me take that back. Let me see. 1, 2, 4, 6. I'm sleeping 10 in my smallest one. All right. So I sleep 12 in 2 of my 4 bedrooms and 10 in my little one. Now, the little one is pretty small. It is, I don't know, top of my head, maybe 2,000 square feet. I've got one that is 3,000 square feet. I've got another one that is 3,000 square feet. So a 3,000 square foot 4-bedroom is going to sleep more than a 2,000 square foot 4-bedroom. Makes sense, right? Common sense. So I do apologize for contradicting myself there a little bit with my square footage and my number of people, but it's difficult to remember all this stuff, you know? It really is. Sometimes you get a bigger portfolio, and I'm blessed to have an amazing life that I'm living here and worked hard to get to where I am, and sometimes it's hard to remember that stuff, okay? So cut me some slack. Now, let's throw this at you. I've got a 5-bedroom that I only sleep 10 people. So I have 3 4-bedrooms that I sleep 12. I'm sorry. All right. Back. See, I'm contradicting myself again. 2 4-bedrooms I sleep 12. 1 4-bedroom I sleep 10. And I have 1 5-bedroom I sleep 10. Why? Because it's a small 5-bedroom. It is. It's like, I don't know, 1,900 square feet, which is tiny. The living area and the kitchen are small, and the rest of the house is bedrooms, which is very common in vacation homes. That's another thing you got to understand. Vacation, if it was built as a vacation home, it probably has a small living area, a small kitchen, no closets, and a lot of bedrooms. It's pretty common. They were built to sleep as many people as possible. So, yes, I have a 5-bedroom, but it is small. In other words, if it was a regular old house that you were living in and raising your kids at 1,900 square foot, that'd probably be a 3-bedroom, maybe 4, maybe. It wouldn't be 5. But since it was not built to live in, it was built to vacation in. There's no closets and there's no, it's a small little living area, because most people on vacation aren't spending a ton of time in the house, depending on your market. You're in Pigeon Forge, which is where my 5-bedroom is. People are going out. They're going to eat out for the most part. They're going to the park. They're going to the roller coasters. They're going to Dollywood. They're going to all these crazy amusements. They're not home much at all. They're just coming back to sleep and gather. Man, what an awesome day. Let's pour some moonshine and do this damn thing. Same thing on the beach. I got a big beach house. I got a couple big beach houses. One of them has a pool. People are gathering at that pool, man. They're coming in to watch a little bit of TV here and there, that kind of thing. But for the most part, if they're not at the beach or at a restaurant or at the amusement park or at the water park or whatever it is, they're at that pool. Small kitchen. So keep all this stuff in mind. The variable, again, the formula is number of bedrooms times 2 plus 2. And then the variable is square footage. All right, we could probably come up with an exact formula. But I tried that and it doesn't work. If you do 0.4% of 3,000, that's 12, right? But if you do 0.4% of 2,000, that's only 8. So it doesn't translate. So, maybe something like number of square feet equals number of people. 3,000 square feet equals 12 people. 2,000 square feet equals 10 people. 2,500 square feet, that's where it gets weird. Are you really going to sleep with 11 people? Because then you got like an oddball bed somewhere or a twin bed in the corner somewhere, So again, use your best judgment based on the prior formula. To me, that's the best way to go. Number of bedrooms times 2 plus 2, with the square footage being a variable, right? This episode is brought to you by Short-Term Rental Listing Advice. Join this Facebook group and post your listing to get advice from other hosts, including myself, on how you can improve your listing. Or just post your property so you can show off. Join us at strlistingadvice.com. That's strlistingadvice.com. Let me give you some other examples. I will, if I've got a 1.5, what I call a 1.5 bedroom, again, back to the Smokies. These are very common. A 1-bedroom cabin with a loft. So it's got, like, let's say 2 king beds. I'm generally going to sleep about 5, depending on square footage. That's where that oddball, but maybe that's a pull-out queen couch, a bed to sleep 5. I do find I start to get a little annoyed with 6 people in a 1.5, what I call a 1.5 bedroom, which is a 1-bedroom with a loft, which you rent as a 2-bedroom, but legally it's bought and sold as a 1-bedroom, right? So 1.5 bedroom is what I call it. I find that if I go to 6 on that thing, the type of people that are willing to cram 6 people in a 1.5 bedroom cabin in East Tennessee with, let's say 1,200 square feet, they're going to be not my favorite guests. So 5 is kind of going to be my limit on that. A 0-bedroom cabin, I'm going to stick with 2, with the exception of maybe a child, at maybe 3 humans total. And again, where do I come up with these numbers? Historical data. Pick a number, run with it. That's the whole point of this call. That's the whole point of this podcast. Pick a number that you think is going to be okay. If it starts to be annoying, or if you're over managing, or you're dealing with junky guests, drop it down. If you feel like the guests are being totally cool and you could maybe spare a couple of square feet in the property, bump it up a person or 2. Doesn't have to happen overnight. That's the theme of today's show. Pick something, run with it, change it later based on need and necessity. Can I handle a little more management on this house in exchange for a couple more bucks? Yes. Okay, bump it up. Am I over managing this house because the guests are annoying me? Bump it down. Simple as that. Now, I mentioned the word humans. That's where it gets a little weird, because there is an Airbnb, a Verbo loophole, where they say that they basically think that infants don't count. So you have to keep that in mind. Are you going to abide by that or not? Because you can put it in this is what I do. I put it in my house rules. Humans. 10 human maximum. Because what they can do, and this is totally, within their rules on Airbnb, they can book 10 people, and technically they could book 6 infants and get away with it. So then now you got 16 people in this house, but Airbnb doesn't count infants, which I believe, don't quote me, I think it's anything under 18 months. So my house rules say 10 humans regardless of age. And again, if it's in your house rules, Airbnb and Verbo will be on your side there. Booking.com, Hopper, whatever platforms you're using. So I do see that quite often, where they'll sneak, or they really probably don't even know. I think sometimes they're sneaking, but I think most of the time they don't realize, because Airbnb will let them put 10 guests and 3 infants, and it still says 10 guests. But you got to kind of pay attention to that. Am I hyper focused on that and being the infant police? No. But if they start asking weird questions, and then I'm like, wait a minute, what is this? Why do you have 13 people here? What's going on? I'm sorry, this house only allows 10. You're going to have to cancel. I'll give you a full refund. That's the key. If you're going to do it my way, you have to be cool with giving a full refund. And then Airbnb and Verbo, Booking.com, they're going to take your side. If you're not going to give them a full refund, then it's like and I get that. It's almost like you're trying to find some loophole to rip people off, and nobody wants anything to do with that, and you shouldn't either. So in my case, the only downside to that is if it gets too close to reservation day, and then I didn't catch it. Next thing you know, they're bringing 13 people, 3 infants and 10 people to a 10-person property. Well, too late. Shame on me for not catching that. And again, am I hyper focused on that? No, I'll be honest. The only time I ever notice that is when they're being annoying. Okay, you're being super annoying. Let me see what else you're doing wrong. Oh, wait a minute. You're trying to sneak in 3 extra humans. Again, I use the word humans. Has to be in your house rules. This is not legal advice of any kind. You're going to need to call Airbnb and Vrbo and Booking.com and Hopper and Google Vacation Rentals. They're not going to care. And confirm all of this stuff. Okay? I am in no way offering any kind of legal advice. I've got 3 Harley Davidsons. I am not a lawyer. Not that I'm sure there's plenty of lawyers out there with 3 Harleys. But you get my point. All right, so be careful with that infant loophole. Maybe you don't care. Maybe you agree. Maybe an infant doesn't count as a kid. I've got 2 kids. Let me tell you something. They count as a tornado. It's not even a human. It's a damn tornado. And yeah, an infant doesn't do much of anything, but it does take up space. And everybody, if there's an infant involved, the stress level is higher. So again, I find it's my duty to make sure that the number of people are a little lower to keep that stress level lower, because people don't know any better. They're just trying to save a couple of bucks. And it's your job as a good landlord to say, nope, sorry, I do not want the stress level that high in this house. It's going to lead to bad reviews. It's going to lead to your vacation not being as good as you want it to be. And quite frankly, what you're saying there is maybe you should save up a little bit more money and go rent a bigger house. But you can't say that, obviously. That's not classy. That's not the Southern way of doing things. Polite, as my lovely wife has taught me. She's, of course, from the very deep South, right? So you're going to have to come up with an SOP, a standard operating procedure, based on whether you're going to be, and quite frankly, my way of doing it, the human thing, it is more work that way. Like, I got to call and explain to the person at Airbnb, hey, they told me they're going to have 13 people. My house is 10-person maximum, and in my house rules, it says 10 humans regardless of age. That's how you get through that infant loophole. But Airbnb's not really going to like that. They're not going to understand it, So you got to decide if it's worth it. Is that juice worth the squeeze? For me, it is. I don't want that many people stacked in my houses, again, making the stress level go higher, and everybody has less of an awesome time. I come from the party world, right? I was in the party business for like 15 years. I owned a nightclub in New York City, nightclub. It's a 600 square foot dump is what it was. Long time ago. And so I learned, and I even before that, I was partying, I was in the party business, the rock and roll party business. It's what I did, man. We had a good time all the time. And so I take what I learned from that business, which is all hospitality. Make no mistake. Nightclubs, restaurants, bars, it's all hospitality. If you have experience as a waitress or a waiter or a bartender, you're going to do very well as a short-term rental landlord. All right? So I take what I learned from that side of the business, from the hospitality business, and I translate it over here, which is, again, it's hospitality. It's all it is. It's the exact same thing. And what I do is, it used to be back in the day, I'd see a guy wander in my bar and he'd sit down at the bar and he'd be one of these like, come to the bar early and complain about my problems kind of guys. And I'm like, listen, there's 100 bars out there that's exactly what they do. You go in those bars and you complain about your problems. That's not what we do in my bar. We come to my bar to create memories and have a good time. All right? So if you're not coming in here to have a good time, you are in the wrong bar. So, a lot of that has to do with what's the vibe you're trying to create in your property. What type of a manager are you? There's plenty of people that are listening to this saying, oh, this guy doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. I'd sleep 16 people in that 4-bedroom. So it's all about what environment you want to create for your guests. And that will, you don't need to sit there and have a game plan. You don't need a freaking flow chart about your environment in your property. It will change and evolve over time based on your experiences. Okay. So again, to reiterate, the most important thing to learn here is that there is no wrong answer. There's no wrong answer. Pick what you think is best over time. the procedure and the policy will change and evolve based on needs. Number of bedrooms times 2 plus 2 with a whole lot of exceptions. Heads in Beds with the Reverend of Real Estate, Luke Carl. I appreciate you. Please give me a 5-star review. And of course, check out the shorttermshop.com. We'd love to sell you your next vacation house. We're the best in the biz, baby. Let me teach you how to be a good landlord. Come on, let's do it. Don't overthink it.